Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Irma, and I'll be your facilitator today for today's webinar. If you're joining us for the first time, our webinar is called How to Build a Modern Data Protection Strategy. A few call outs before we get started. This session is being recorded. A link will be sent to all registrants after the webinar. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope you walk away with a few actionable insights that you can apply at work. And if you joined us before, thank you for coming back. We're glad to have you with us again. Throughout the session, feel free to drop in some questions in the chat. We'll address some of them live and save some time at the end for Q&A. The webinar is hosted by OTAVA and Veeam. And with that, I would like to introduce our speakers, Chris Borowski, our Senior Product Manager over at OTAVA's Business Resilient Product Family. Chris brings over 10 years of experience working with cloud service providers and is passionate about helping organizations navigate the complexities of data protection and recovery. That was a mouthful. And joining us from Veeam, Jim Lowry, a senior system engineer with over 19 years of experience in the IT industry. Jim serves as a trusted advisor to cloud and managed service providers, helping organizations design and implement modern data protection and recovery strategies. Do you guys want to take a moment and say hello, provide a fun fact, and where you guys are dialing in from? Chris, I'll toss it to you first.
Hey everybody, I am just outside of Metro Detroit, and even though I am a lifelong Michigander, I do root for the Chicago Bears, so please don't hold that against me if you're from Michigan as well.
That surprises me. I've been working with you for years, and I had no idea you were a sellout. That's awesome. So, I'm Jim Lowry. I'm based in San Jose, California, in the Bay Area, where I grew up here. I am a diehard San Francisco 49ers fan, even in the bad years. And I've been doing this a long time. I love it. It's fun. I'm looking forward to having some fun with you guys today. But I got to say, I understand why you're a Bears fan. Barry Sanders is the awesomest dude ever in any sport. But beyond that, what does the Lions have?
That's
Nothing.
pretty much it.
Thankfully, the 49ers were much better.
All right, that's enough football for now. Let's take a look at what we'll cover today. We'll kick it off with how the ransomware landscape is evolving, especially with the rise of AI, then segue into why many organizations still struggle with recovery, even when backups are in place. We'll also cover what defines a modern data protection strategy today and how to think about recovery readiness in a practical way. And lastly, again, we'll try to leave some time for Q&A and closing remarks. So with that, I will hand it off to Chris to talk through the AI landscape.
Hey everybody. Yeah, so the first thing we wanted to kind of kick this off with is, everybody hears AI, AIML, all of these different, really cool ways that a lot of different organizations are using AI to either clean up data or present data or do, all sorts of amazing things. The problem is malware companies and malware organizations are also using AI. So when we think about the modern ransomware and modern cybersecurity landscape, you've got this big AI thing that really goes both ways, right? You've got it on one side, helping them rebuild and reformat and tweak existing attacks on the fly, right? And live and fast. And it's not just humans coding it anymore. So we've reached this point where we have AI tools to protect, but they've also got the AI tools on the other side to really attack organizations. So when we talk about modern recoverability, right? That's where we start, right, Jim? So like, what is Veeam doing on the protect side of that equation that really helps us use AI for good, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I apologize if I've got a little bit of a cough here today. I mean, it's really interesting to watch because working with service providers, I get to see a lot of different scenarios. I'm not tied to a specific segment of the marketplace, I mean, like healthcare or federal governments, or so I get to see kind of a gamut of everything that all companies have to deal with. And I think that one of the biggest thing there is the idea of what you described. It's ransomware is not going to change, or AI and ransomware attacks and the evolution of that is not changing the tactics as much as it is changing the speed you have to implement them and the speed to recovery from them. And it takes a lot of planning and time to be able to put yourself in a position to successfully defend against an AI robot, right? I mean, we're
Right.
literally living at science fiction. These are the things that all science fiction nerds have read about their entire life. And now we're literally living at the forefront of that. Like we've already been to the moon. We're talking about going to Mars. We've got
Hmm.
things on Mars that humans made. And now we're going to have to worry about this kind of stuff. For example, this is really interesting. It's kind of a nice little footnote. At our in one of our internal kickoff meetings at the beginning of the year as a company with Veeam, made the announcement about one of our updates coming is going to have our first quantum-based cryptographic module. Think of what that means. Quantum-based cryptography requirements.
Yeah.
Quantum
That
computing
is.
is coming, man.
It's like out there, man.
Yeah, and it really, but it's to the point now where the market is dictating we need to be ready for it. And
Yeah.
AI is only going to accelerate that type of risk. And we cannot, as humans, process information nearly to the degree that we're about to be inundated with.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And if we look at like the data on the screen, right, we talk about, everything that we're going to be inundated with. If you ask the security and the IT ops teams at all of these for us as a provider talking to our customers and our partners and the other providers that you're working with, I bet that these numbers match up, right? You ask security, you ask the compliance teams, and they're like, we're doing okay, but there's a long way to go for us to keep up with the Joneses, right? In this modern AI landscape of there is only so much that humans can do on their own without the proper tools and tool sets to combat what quantum computing cryptographic keys, right? Like that's not a human thing, right? Like you as a person aren't keeping up with that. As amazing as the human brain is, we're only going to get so far as people.
Yeah, there's no savant on the planet that's going to be able to do that in their head, right?
Yeah.
And what I find, like, I look at this number here, and I honestly think I take it into question about how accurate it is because I think it's worse than that. I
Probably.
really do. I think a lot of people are overly confident and they don't think. I run into this regularly where I talk with people who are engineers and people who are taking on environments and they're still trying to focus on what they have historically done. They're not adapting, they're not truly understanding the risk that they're exposing themselves to. And that's because sometimes you're dealing with young professionals who have not yet hit that wall where they've been dead wrong and had to eat some humble pie. I've been there. So have you. We all have. We all hit that wall eventually, right? That's how we learn as
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah.
But if we don't take this seriously, risk is huge. In the last Veeam cybersecurity report launch that we did, we do that every year. I think so. This is for the beginning of 2025, the last time that came out. What that showed was that on a self-reported, scale of vulnerability, only 4% of people or entities that were caught and attacked with ransomware successfully attacked. Only 4% recovered within a week. 96% of all organizations took at least 7 days to recover from a crypto attack.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so that's a great point, Jim, right? When we talk about, it's not just the front end of protection, right? It's not, firewall rules and preventing them from getting in, but it's the ability to recover, right? We if for everyone out there, if you've been on one of our webinars or you've read any of our blog posts or even probably a lot of the things that Veeam does, it's not if, it's when, right? It,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how big or small you are, at some point you're gonna get hit. So are you ready? Have you done any testing? What, saying we have backups is great, right? You go check the box, you tell your compliance auditor, you tell your cyber insurance, yeah, we've got backups. Cool, great. And then you go to recover from a malware attack, and all of a sudden, I don't have immutable copy, so all of my backups are gone, or were infected as well, or pick your thing, right? Um, it's a whole different world of you can't just say we have backups, or we have, hey, we're following 3-2-1. Well, that's great, but you know, we at OTAVA and utilizing Veeam, you guys have a lot of really neat tools to either validate backups, protect those backups to make sure they're recoverable, to restore them cleanly, and do a validation during recovery, right? So, from the Veeam side, how are you guys viewing, recoverability specifically, right? Like what's the next step for Veeam when it comes to not only, we all like to have backups of everything that we can get, but recovering is really the crucial part.
Yeah, absolutely. Your backups are useless if you can't use them, right?
Right.
And that's why, since day one, Veeam's core philosophy, since the day the first tool was written, 20 years ago now, the most important thing has always been speed to recovery. Everything that we do, everything that we design, every feature we build is built around that. How will this impact my speed to recovery first? So underneath that, then you start getting, okay, how accurate is that data? Because that impacts recovery, right? What are the different things I can do to protect and ensure that it's available? Do I have 3-2-1 rule? All these basics, like I said earlier, your tactics aren't changing very much, but your execution has to be a lot more clean, and you have to take a multifaceted approach to this, or it won't work, right? There's no one single thing that will solve all of your ransomware attack buttons, or data security, not just ransomware, just data resiliency in general, right? I've been at Veeam not quite 8 years now. I came to Veeam from the storage world. And at the time, this data resiliency topic was not word of mouth. Nobody thought backups were sexy, right? But in the last 4 years at least, that conversation has flipped. IT companies are spending more in their backup resiliency because they recognize what has to be available, and you have to do simple things to prove it works. And this is where Veeam really, really leads the market, right? So sure, backup jobs. I don't want to get into too many vernacular specific names, but
Yeah.
I've got to be able to do fast recoveries. And I have to prove that those recoveries will work. I need to
Yep.
automate stuff because I have to respond at the speed of compute, not the speed of the human reaction,
Yeah.
right? I need to be able to prove that that data is valid, that that data can't be edited or altered, removed, deleted. And it still surprises me how many service providers specifically don't use immutable storage. That don't use it, not even for archival backups, but primary backups. They still don't use it because they just don't think it's necessary. I'll tell you, the companies that feel that way, you're just begging for a lawsuit, and you're going to lose all of your cyber insurance coverage.
And
It's going to go. They're not going to
right.
cover you.
And for us as a service provider, right, it's not even our data, right?
Yeah.
Now you're talking about our customers' data, right? You have other people reliant on, us as a cloud service provider, and their data and their livelihoods and their businesses, that, if we're not doing it right as the service provider, we're putting them at risk, right?
Yeah. If you
If we're
can't trust it, what good is it?
Right. Right. And
And
that's, like, so we talk about, like, one of the cool things that Veeam is rolling out, or has rolled out, apologies, is the recovery orchestration, right? Being able to pre-write scripts for, if this thing happens, I need to go, or I need you, Veeam backup recovery or data recovery system, to go do this, and this before we do anything else. I want to hit a button and have you go do it, so I don't have to go click button, go over to the next thing, click button, go over to the, if I have four eyes authorization enabled, I don't want to have to click button, wait for second admin to approve click button, go do click button again, right? I want to be able to say, we pre-approved this list of things that needs to get done first. Let's go do it.
Right. And what's cool about that automation is that we have tools that we have built using our software and our APIs, but we also have those exact same APIs available to everybody so that you can customize it yourself. All right. If it's not working in a way that you wanted it to do, if there's something missing, you want to tweak it a little bit, or you're going to use SolarWinds to monitor something instead of Veeam 1, which is totally okay, right? You've got options because we want you to have access to your data, right? And we want you to rely and be reliant upon that data, trusting it entirely. And there's a bit of a precursor here, just intentionally vague here, to kind of have people kind of whet your appetite a little bit. This logic and this expansion of recovery speeds and AI threats and the speed to ransomware attack and recovery and verification is exactly why Veeam made a major acquisition last year with a company based in San Jose, Security AI. And they are a Veeam company now. We just released last month, or beginning of this month, maybe, I can't remember, it's like late February, early March, our first go-to-market product together between Security AI and Veeam. And this is just the first piece of this. But the whole point of this tool is to do exactly what you're describing. But I'm doing it at the scale of AI. And I'm able to use large language models and AI to orchestrate and look for areas at a speed and a breadth that is incapable of doing with the human mind. And
Right.
so now I can find new areas of vulnerability. Hey, I've got this PII data piece over here. It's a bunch of social security numbers and home addresses on this one database. That the primary database is encrypted, it's protected, it's fine, but we found that there's an unintentional copy sitting on an Excel spreadsheet somewhere because somebody was having performance issues and just saved it to an Excel file to go manipulate and look for stuff. But that's not encrypted. I can now discover, flag, automate the recovery, the restoration, and all of it. All of that. Right? I mean, and that's just the beginning of what that tool is going to be able to do. And there's a huge reason why we bought that, because data resiliency is not slowing down. The tactics, like I said, have not changed, but the speed to execution has. And you need to be well aware of agentic AI models within your data resiliency, or
Yes.
you won't survive as a company.
And when we talk about agentic AI, right? These agents, the even funnier, integrated part of that is without good clean data, your agents die, right? Because if you don't have that data readily available, now you've got, your agent is doing making things up on the fly, right? Or, what have
Or
you.
what if you use the AI modules and large language models, but the data you're feeding it is bad and it doesn't
Right.
know,
Or
right?
incomplete, or yeah.
Yeah, we don't know, right? And that is also why so at our RSAC conference here, I think it's RSAC, RSAC, I think it's a big
Yeah.
security conference going on right now in San Francisco. Our CEO was there, had a keynote, dropped this new tool we released, Agent Commander, because Veeam's philosophy here, and I think is the right one, if your AI is being used to give data that is not accurate and you don't know it, how can you trust it? Merging agentic AI reporting with something like Veeam, that's the number one leader on the planet Earth of data resiliency protection, according to Gartner, right? I mean, it's not me just marketing fluff. We're still growing double-digit revenue every quarter, right? It's because now I can take the tools of immutable backups, automated testing, resiliency monitoring, speed to recovery, air gap, all of that, and prove that now I'm backing up data that is actually valid. And if it's not, I can then restore the data that is directly into my agentic AI model, right? So I can prove and define that those data sets are valid so that you can trust the data your AI is presenting to you, right? That's the key. 90% of AI companies that fail is because the data wasn't reliable. There's so many data sites. I mean, 60 Minutes did something on this I saw a few years ago where a police officer tool was using AI and it was really, really great. They were making crime was going down, police response was faster. However, there was a problem where within a small geographic area within that city was getting an overly high rate of attention through police officers. And it happened to be a minority community where they say, okay, what they found was not that there was more crime in there than in other areas, but
Hmm.
the unintentional bias of the data that was used to feed that module put more crime alerting in that area. And I'm very loosely describing this, right?
Yeah.
And so it had an unintended consequence of saying that this area needs more work, when in
Yep.
reality it didn't. It was other areas were just as bad, it just didn't catch it right. And so those types of mistakes can have real world applications when you're arresting somebody who shouldn't be
Right.
arrested, right? And so this applies everywhere. You have to be able to trust that data. And that's why Veeam wanted to buy security AI so that we could do this together and build it.
Make
It's going to be natively integrated into all of our products.
make it clean, make it easy, right? That's like,
Make it
data is
useful.
as people, we get data from all of our senses, right? That's all
Hmm.
data, right? So if one of your senses isn't working properly, it's the same thing as losing a table in a database. All of a sudden you're
Yeah.
getting that incomplete or misleading information.
And then,
It's super critical to
yeah,
businesses to make sure you're tracking that stuff, and to people.
100%, man. Yeah. Well, and again, going back to the idea of the tactics here, let's assume that you have all that, but you've never tested it. You still
you
have to do
you
the
have
simple things.
you have no idea if it works, right? It's like having, hey, we've got a tornado plan or a fire escape plan, but nobody validated that the fire escape window or door or whatever actually opens. So you have a fire and everybody's like, hey, we can't get out. Well, but we had a plan, right? I think it was General Eisenhower that I think it's frequently misquoted, but it's still pretty relevant, right? The idea that planning is essential, but plans are useless, right? Or
Until the
Mike
first shot's
Tyson's,
fired or something like that. Yeah.
right? Yeah, Mike Tyson's everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Yeah.
The same goes for for data recovery, right? Knowing what you're supposed to be doing or what the process should be, and having that clean data, clean processes, clean documentation of all of that stuff is super critical, because when it happens you're going to throw half of it out the window, and so understanding it is super important.
And yeah.
And
What
that
happens if
leads us
somebody
into
gets
our
sick? Yeah.
right. So yeah, so if you're talking to your customers and the your CTOs, your COOs, your VP of operations, VP of IT, all of these things, you know, we threw a couple of questions on here, but like, what are the questions those leaders and those heads of business departments and heads of, like, even up to the CEO, right? The CEO may not be down and dirty on a keyboard, but he or she should still have an idea of what does this look like. So what, like, from your perspective, when you get into these discussions with CSPs or direct customers, what are the things that
Yeah.
you're asking them?
That's a great question. You can still hear me, right? I had to
Yep.
cough. I just wanted to, okay. Yeah. It's a great question. And it really comes down to the, that you need to test and you need to prove it. It's easy to say that I have this ready, it's good to go, but are you proving it? The power that we build with technology like Sure Backup or Sure Replica jobs is that, and you start mixing this with, like you had mentioned earlier, a recovery orchestration tool, where not only can I use our technology to run a sure backup or a sure replication job, but I can now use that same with Recovery Orchestrator. I can take that tool, run it against my action plan, against the backup images or the replica images without actually doing a real failover. I can simulate it as an identical test to if it was real and what would happen. That tool will then generate a book of or a response that says, okay, here's what worked. This failed. These are the things that you need to fix. Here's how long it takes to do this. Here's a run book that is so detailed and branded with your stuff so it looks like you're awesome that you can now take this run book and give it to anyone. Your secretary who's never even opened up a command line interface in her life and say,
Right.
just follow these detailed steps. Sit, type, enter, right? Screenshots, everything. I mean, that power is phenomenally underused.
Yep.
It's
And for us,
underused.
is it like, come to someone like us as a CSP at OTAVA, where so
Okay,
Amy's
do it
got a question in
right.
here about testing without disrupting, right? That's huge, right? You don't want to have to
Mm-hmm.
recover your data, like, let's say I've got I don't know, a 2 terabyte database that's running at 75% compute normally, right? That's just day-to-day operations. You don't want to have to shut that down to test recovery, right? So if you work with someone like OTAVA, we can set up a clean isolated network for you. We've got the extra compute, as a CSP, that we can recover all those systems together, right? Have those networks connected, make sure that the database recovers, that the application server that needs that database can connect to it, can talk to it, is getting the data it needs, and can forward it to the web server, right? Like all of these things working together, doing clean recoveries into clean rooms. And I know Veeam has a pretty cool tool for the enterprise customers out there to do it in a virtual nested environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can
What's great
do
is
like,
it doesn't even have to be enterprise customers. Anybody with
sure,
a Veeam backup and replication license can do this. And you don't even have to use like sophisticated replication jobs as well, because
right,
DR is a spectrum. To one person, DR means restore my boss's email attachment because he's the CEO. To another person, it means my data center just got nuked. I need this to automatically fail over and run in a completely different area
yes,
that's on standby, right?
yep,
We can do all of that. I can divine failover strategy plans just based on backup jobs and do something with an instant VM recovery plan,
yeah,
right? And
or
yeah, automating it, testing it, validating it. And this is why I love working with you guys at Otava, because you have that technical prowess in your team and already know how to do all of this and can do it in a daily basis. You have the horsepower in your compute infrastructure to schedule this. Or like you could say every month we're going to go through each customer of ours that wants to do this, and we have this offering for available. We're going to run this for them in the background and then send them the report. Here's what
yeah,
worked. Here's what didn't work.
or
This is
here's
what it would
here's
look like
here's
in a real scenario.
yeah, here's access to it. You go tell us, does this look right? Right? We can
Yeah.
say, oh, the VMs came up, they look like they have all the correct amount of data. You go in, go poke, run your scripts against your database. Got another question here. How often should you test? I mean, the
Depends on the
the
test.
well, right. So like for me, bare minimum twice a year. That is scraping the surface of how often you should be testing. You think about how many changes happen inside of a business in 6 months, right? And especially as you get larger, you're adding systems here, you're taking systems off. 6 months is the bare minimum. I would recommend quarterly if you can do it. I would also, if you're a leader in your business, run fire drills, right? Don't tell your team when you're going to do something. Just start shutting stuff off or deleting stuff and see what they can do, right? Don't do it on prod, but you know,
Yeah,
take a
that's good.
system
That's
that
a
you
good
that
quip.
take a system that you can, that the teams are working on or should be
Uh-huh.
responding to,
Yeah,
and put them through a fire drill.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Quarterly for like a full real DR test is a great way to do it. In my previous life, I was spent a year as an IT infrastructure manager for a benefits company. And the first time that I was really doing DR test planning took months to plan. We'd had a weekend over where we had everybody was off because nobody was working on the weekends in our business model in that time. I just had to run over that weekend, test everything, and then hopefully fail it back in time on Monday, right? I don't need to do it that way with this technology. That's so
Right.
overkill. I can automate it. I can get the people who know what they're doing to do it. So in your case, this is why you go to managed service providers. You want somebody that knows how to do this because it's incredibly complicated. It is. The IT shops that are always the best ones, always, are the guys who look like they're doing nothing
Right.
because they've got it humming. When that team is gone, everybody begins to understand why they look like they're doing nothing because they're on top of things. Go to a company. OTAVA is one of the biggest partners we have, and your Jason is infinitely smarter than I am. Right? Jason Keller
We
knows more
love
about our
Jason over
products than I
here.
do. The guy's a genius. I love it. You have some of the smartest people, Chris excluded, of course, that I've ever worked with. And it's been an awesome 7.5 years working with you guys because of it.
So
It's impressive.
there's a reason that I'm on this webinar instead of having hands-on keyboard these days.
Hey, me too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
with
too
that,
pretty.
we are coming close to time here. Want to leave some time for questions. I do see a few in the chat that we can go through, but before we do that, is there any closing remarks, Chris or James? That's weird. I'm gonna call you Jim. Jim
Please do.
on
James is my in trouble
uh
name.
on what we want to leave our audience with here.
Um, I mean, just test, and as an organization, understand where your failure points are, right? If this, like, what's the bottleneck? If this thing fails, then dominoes cascade, use whatever version of that you want to use. Make sure that you and your team understand what those pain points are, and test.
Yeah, I'd say that there's that joke axiom of like there's no such thing as stupid questions, just stupid people who ask questions. I would rephrase that. It's there are stupid people who don't ask questions. Would you have an option in your life in any circumspect, and especially in this instance here with disaster recovery planning and being able to do it right. You can either choose to be humble and listen to somebody that talks to you, or you can be compelled into humility and talking to somebody who knows what they're doing. It is so much easier to humble yourself and ask questions. Nobody wants to be compelled into humility. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. And the person who says he does is not the one you want to hire.
Yep.
Very well said. So there's a few questions in the chat, Chris. Do you want to pick a few and answer them?
Yeah. Let's look at. So yeah. This one's an easy one for Jamal. Yes, we are at Otava currently using Veeam Vault. We're a big fan of it because we can connect any one of our sites to a mutable copy that we can roll back down to any of our other sites, right? So it does not have to go back to where it came from. So when we talk about disaster recovery, right, or recovery into a separate site or a clean site or what have you, we're a big fan of Veeam Vault, and yes, we are actively using it. So that's an easy one.
Yeah, it's easily a few petabytes at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're certainly into the hundreds of terabytes at the very least. let's see, Alex, what would I prioritize to check before things go down? That's going to be a business to business conversation, right? I can't tell a partner what's important to them. That is one of the most important things as a CSP that we can help guide and help facilitate a conversation about it. But at the end of the day, we're never going to know your business the way that you know it. So we will work with you to, you say X, Y, and Z are the priorities, and we'll help you figure out how to protect those more specifically or in different ways, criticality of recovery, things like that. We'll help you work through that. I need this data for 7 years and I only need this, this is an app server that I can back up once a week or, every other week because it's just, there's no changes, there's no data, there's no changes on that one. So we don't really need to focus, or if it's an RDS box, right? RDS boxes, you back up once a month and refresh the image when you need to. So when it comes to prioritization, it's a very, very close to home conversation from
Yeah.
my perspective.
Yeah, I echo what Chris said there, and I'll add that it's important to determine your crown jewels, right? Because the crown jewels are what you protect the most. That's where you invest the most time and effort and money into, right? And so when you do that, you have to kind of tier out your application sets into those different models of this guy needs this type of performance recovery. My file share server doesn't need the same thing. Within that, so now if you're defining your crown jewels, your tier zero, your revenue generating applications, what are the servers and components that are required to make it run? Networking. I need my DNS server, Active Directory if I'm using that, a database, web server, all of the different components that you have that are core to that to run. And then you build your plan to include all of that. For example, if you need a DNS server, you need a DHCP server, you need a SQL server. Well, in your failover plan, that you're going to set it so that I turn on my domain controller, I turn on my AD server, turn on my database servers first. Then I give them 5 minutes to boot and run and get online, run a test, and this is all automated. Test it, I can get a simple query back on the database. I can get credentials authorized, cool. Now go turn on my file share server, mount it to this machine. Now go turn on my web server and go do whatever it is you need. But you can structure everything into that recovery step. And that's exactly what Chris will and his team would at that point come into. Let's build the most efficient and effective way and then schedule it based on each application need and the SLA required for each application.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's it, right? So Aaron's
Todd
got a
White,
question.
I'm definitely going to attack you. Ha
Aaron's got a question in here about post-quantum cryptography. Aaron, I appreciate the question. I am not nearly smart enough or educated enough on that topic to even begin to answer it. So I apologize. If you can join whatever the next webinar we do, I will try to have some kind of answer or work with our marketing team to get some kind of blog out there compared to things to consider and then things that Veeam is doing to help us.
Yeah, from a ransomware response, if you've detected it, the best thing you can do, immediately call support. Right, immediately. Veeam has on standby a cyber resiliency recovery team. Right. Veeam also has a company we acquired a couple of years ago called Coveware that OTAVA has access to use, where you can do a lot of other really nifty things like cyber recovery operations. They can negotiate with the person who's crypto locked to you. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Do they do forensic analysis as well, Jim?
100%.
Yep. It's a big one. If and when you get hit by ransomware, don't delete all of it, please. Right? Recover it somewhere else, and then go do your analysis, because knowing how you got hit is so important.
I think something also to consider is in those situations, sometimes it makes sense to immediately power something off, disconnect the network, hard yank the cable, right? It's when you're in that site, it's drastic. So just I don't say just willy nilly go shut things down because it's always going to be situational dependent, but just be in mind that might happen. Another really important thing, and this is why cyber insurance is so crucial, if it's criminal, right, and the governing police organization within the U.S., the FBI or the local police, will often lock down your infrastructure to recover evidence, and you will not have access to your equipment for weeks, months, depending upon how long that analysis takes. Right? They're not in the business of getting you back up. They're in the business of catching the guys who took you down.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
very, very crucial.
And to your point, for this is going to be a little shout out to our team at OTAVA. Go check out our on-demand webinar that we did, myself and my boss Olivier, specifically on detecting ransomware. Right, one of the big things about ransomware, and this is a preventative measure, not necessarily after detecting, but preventative. And I am not nearly a networking smart enough person to dive into details, but do not have a flat network, please, 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 right? If you've got app servers, put them on one network. If you have databases, put them on one network. Have your web servers on one network. Segment all of that out and filter traffic between those networks so that if and when you do get hit, it stays localized to whatever got hit, right? You don't want, make it as hard as possible for those ransomware attacks to propagate throughout your entire environment.
And with that, I
Yep.
think we have time for one more question. Oh, I think Jim just answered it in the chat, so we
Yeah.
should be good.
I'll elaborate a little bit more to you. So that's a great question, Amy. And that about the question is, like, how do I know if my backups are actually clean and recoverable, right? And that's why it's a multi-pronged approach. We talked at the very beginning. You need a multitude of things to do, right? And everything is just a different layer of defense. But the best way to know that your data is there is to follow the simplest things we ought say. Make it immutable. Make sure you're doing role-based access controls properly. Regularly test restores, right? And it doesn't need to be a full data center failover test. It could be a simple, hey, I just want to go test a recovery real quick. I'm going to go spin up this backup image in the background. It is the actual backup image off your site, so it's not impacting production. Can I recover a file from it? Can I recover the VM? And then just do that regularly. At least, so what Chris was talking about, like a full DR plan testing quarterly, 100%. Monthly, I typically recommend at least monthly, do random machine checks of simple recoveries. Can I just recover it? Can I see the data and get to it? What happens
Yeah,
if I try to delete it? Is my immutability actually working?
we
Don't actually delete it, but
yeah, real quick, because I know, Irma, we're running out of time. We have a customer, and I love that this customer does this. I know our support team, they don't love having to be engaged quite this much, but we have a customer that gives us, they have, I don't know, like 80 or 90 servers, and every week they give us 6 or 7 and say, pull this drive off of this backup from this date and show me that it's good, right? So that,
it can
like,
all be
that's an
automated.
right. And that's an easy thing that, okay, here's the new list for this week. Boom. Here's your, validate those backups, right? It doesn't, to your point, it doesn't have to be this big giant thing that, big giant process where we're going to recover, 50, 60, whatever, X number of VMs. It could just be go test a couple of drives here and there, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so at the end of the day, modern data protection isn't just about having backups, as you heard. It's about having a strategy that ensures you can recover with confidence when it matters most. And I hope that is the key takeaway you guys leave with today. And always reach out if you have any questions. You can connect with us by emailing us at hello@otava.com, or if you visit our website, which our URL is on the screen here. Go to our Contact Us page and provide your questions. We're always happy to help. Chris and Jim, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate all the expertise. And with that, we'll leave it open for a couple more minutes, but we've concluded our webinar. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.